Hello guys, buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches, depending on when you're watching this video. Of course, this is our sixth virtual class, if I'm not mistaken. And before um, before I move on to the topic of the day, um, I want to mention that some people have contacted me um, rather anxiously asking me about deadlines for the work you need to submit for each class. So I want to be totally clear. Um, I am not um, taking points off at all for late work, okay? I know that all of us are living very difficult lives right now. Um, so if you have um, work that you still have not submitted, or even if you have not submitted anything, you can still just send me the files, okay? Don't stop sending me work because you're supposed to be late, okay? I will still um, I will still take it. I will still grade it independently of when you submit it. Um, So even if you haven't submitted anything, there's only a couple people that have not submitted anything. You can still basically join the class by sending the activities, okay? And I also want to mention that there's a few people that still owe me a midterm. So again, let me be absolutely clear because I mentioned this in the first email that I sent you after this whole emergency situation started, and I think I also mentioned it in the first video, but I'm not sure that everyone got the memo, so I'm going to mention it again, and I'll be as clear as possible. There will be no final exams in this class, okay? No exams at all. That, of course, is not standard. That's not what I would have done if this were a normal online class. But it is not. None of you guys signed up for an online class. And I know that for many of you, access to the internet is a struggle. So, um, I don't think it would be fair of me to have you take an online exam when what you had actually signed up for was a class that did not require access to technology. So there's not going to be a final exam of any kind, which means that the most important grade we have this semester is the midterm. Okay? So if you haven't submitted the midterm, please do so. Again, what you need to do in lieu of the midterm for those who did not take it is just send me 8 sentences in Spanish using adverbs talking about your typical day. And that's all, okay? So if you haven't done it yet, please submit the midterm. If you do, I can practically guarantee that you will pass the class, probably with a decent grade if you do well in the midterm. And the ones I have checked um, are pretty good, actually. But if you do not send me a midterm, I cannot guarantee that you will pass the class. So please do so. Okay, on to the topic of the day. I want to keep today very simple. We're just going to do some vocab, okay? Some vocab. about the family. Vocabulario de la familia. So I'm just going to give you a list of words. I know that for many of you who actually speak Spanish at home or have studied it for a while, this will be very, very easy. But even for many of you who speak only English, I think this will be an easy topic. You will recognize many of the words, you will have heard them a lot. So I'll pronounce them for your benefit. Madre means mother, and padre means father. Esposo means husband, and esposa means wife. Notice that I'm only changing the ending from an O to an A to change the gender. That, of course, happens a lot with the words of the family. We'll see it a lot in this list. Hijo means son, hija means daughter. For the pronunciation of these and the two following words, you do have to remember that the H in Spanish has no sound whatsoever, right? So, hijo, right? And then also that the letter that sounds is the J, right? So, hijo and hija. Then hermano is brother and hermana is sister. Primo is a male cousin and prima is a female cousin. Tío is an uncle, tía is an aunt. Abuelo is a grandfather and abuela is a grandmother. Sobrino is a nephew and sobrina is a niece. Nieto is a grandson. Nieta is granddaughter. Okay? It's fairly simple. Of course, we're not going to get into the in-laws and all those complex situations. This is only your standard family vocab. So, before the activity, I want us to look at this little image. This is what is known as a genealogical tree, right? So, for those of you who may not be familiar with what this is, it's basically a graphic representation of the relationships within a family. Okay? Of course, this particular family is one that all of you guys know is very dear to my heart, the Simpson family, right? So, in this genealogical tree and in all genealogical trees, the rows represent the generations, right? What do I mean by that? It's very simple. The people at the top, those are the oldest people, right? And then we move on down generation by generation. So in this particular tree, the two people at the top, the oldest people, are the grandmother and the grandfather, right? And then below them you have the middle-aged people, and below them you have the kids. Okay? So all genealogical trees are like that. The oldest people at the bottom, and then you move down through the generations. Now, let's look, for example, at those two people at the top, Abraham and Penelope. You'll see that they are connected by a dotted line with a tiny M in the middle. What this means is that they're married. Okay? So, lines that connect people mean that there's a relationship between them, and dotted lines means that it's marriage. Okay? Now, lines that connect people between generations means that the one at the bottom is a child, is the child of the one at the top. So, for example, Homer, right, Homero, there's a line that connects him to Abraham and Penelope, so he's their son, right? And then Herb is also Abraham's son because there's a line that connects him to her. Okay? So actually, Homer and Herb are brothers, and so on and so forth, right? That is a genealogical tree, and it's called a genealogical tree because it kind of looks like a tree with a lot of branches, right? So this is the genealogical tree of the Simpson family, and we're going to use it to talk a little bit about the relationships in this family in Spanish, of course. So let's look at some examples, okay? Let's look at Abraham. Abraham is how you would pronounce this in Spanish, here at the top. And then let's think about his relationship to Bart, shall we? So here we have Abraham and Bart. So Abraham is Homer's dad, right? We just discussed that. And then you will see that there's a line that connects Bart to Homer and Marge, which means that he's their son. So Abraham is his father's father, right? He's grandpa, right? How would you say that in Spanish? Abuelo, right? So Abraham es el abuelo de Bart. Abraham is el abuelo de Bart. Notice that I'm using es, which comes from the verb ser, right? I am using the el form of ser, right? Él es. Because Abraham is one man, right? So it's him. I would use that form of the ser verb, right? So Abraham es el abuelo de Bart. Abraham is Bart's grandfather, right? Let's look at another relationship, right? Let's think about Abraham again, but let's think about his relationship to Homer, right? So we mentioned it already. He is his father, right? How do you say that in Spanish? Very simple. Abraham es el padre de Homero. Abraham es el padre de Homero, okay? Another example. Let's stop thinking about Abraham. Let's think about his wife, Penelope, or in Spanish, we would say Penelope, which I actually prefer. It sounds better to my ear, right? Let's think about Penelope and her relationship to Homero, right? What is this relationship? Well, she's his mom, right? How do you say that in Spanish? Penelope es la madre de Homero. Of course, some of you will know that besides madre and padre, we also have the words mama and papa, mom and dad, right? Just like in English, these sound more familiar, right? It's sort of the endearing term for mother and father, right? So mama is the way you would address your mom, right? But we're learning the standard words here for any mother or any father. So madre and padre. Penelope es la madre de Homero. Another small example. Let's think about Bart and his relationship to Lisa, or the other way around. Lisa, what is this relationship? Well, Lisa is his sister, right? So Lisa is la hermana de Bart. Of course, I could also say Bart is Lisa's brother. How would you say that? I'm not going to write it here, but you would say Bart is el hermano de Lisa, right? So you would use the female form of the word, hermana, for Lisa. You would use the masculine form of the word hermano for Bart, right? It's quite simple. Let's do another small example. Let's go to the other side of the tree for a minute. Let's think about Pomona here and her relationship to Bart. So you see that Pomona is married to Herb, right? They're connected with a dotted line. And then Herb is Abraham's son, just like Homer. So basically, Pomona is the wife of the brother of that of Homer's. Sorry, got confused here. Pomona is the wife of the brother of Bart's dad, right? But that's actually we have a word for that, right? She's his aunt. How would you say that in Spanish? Aunt. You say tía, right? So Pomona is la tía de Bart. Let's think about someone else from that side of the tree. Let's think about Hazel and her relationship to Bart. So she's Pomona's daughter, so that means she's his cousin, right? How do you say cousin? Female cousin, of course, because Hazel is a girl. You say prima, right? So Hazel is la prima de Bart. Okay? There's just a few examples of this vocab of the family in action. So for the activity, it's fairly simple. What I want you to do is a little bit of more of the same of what I've done for this video, okay? I want you to please send me 4 sentences in Spanish talking about this family, but sentences that I have not used for the examples, of course, right? 4 sentences. So it can be, anything. It could be like Maggie's Lisa's sister, right? Or Maggie is Homer's daughter, or whatever, right? But of course, in Spanish, 4 sentences, okay? And again, please do not worry about deadlines. Just send me the work whenever you are able to, and I'll grade it and I'll add it to your grades. As soon as I know, I will let you know in a video and via email when the deadline is for me to submit grades, because of course that is going to be the one deadline we have to take into account, right? I will probably be taking work until a couple days before that deadline is due, okay? Other than that, just please keep watching the videos, keep sending me work. I'm being super lenient because I know that all of us are struggling right now, and many of us have many other tasks in our life besides college, right? And also, I do know that some of you have spotty access to internet, right? Or you're sharing it with a number of people. So I'm being as understanding as possible. This is, of course, an emergency situation. I hope you all are being able to stay safe, and you're healthy as well as your family. Remember that I remain always available via email or via WhatsApp for any and all requests or questions, okay? Hasta luego, muchachos. Yeah, I guess our little mini spring break is starting, right? So I will see you guys next Tuesday. Hasta el martes. Bye bye.